Good morning and welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. My name is Lincoln Shrike. He is Gordon Mack, and he just recently woke up. Gordon, great to have you here, and sorry to cut short your slumber there. How are you doing today?
Yeah, this is the quickest going live to opening up my eyes podcast I've ever done. I literally woke up at like 2 minutes ago. So
Wow.
this is what I look up. This is what I look like right when I wake up.
Yeah. Well, you sleep with a hat on?
No, I put the hat on for a reason because my hair is all over the place.
Bad head. Yeah. Well, in my own way too, I overslept. I was in bed until like 8:25, so that was pretty late for me. So we're in a Friday zone right now. It feels like we both stayed up late watching the Nick Foles experience, which was a little rocky to begin with, and then the ship got back on track, and the Bears got a win. So I'm feeling pretty good. The Bears might be the worst 4-1 team in the NFL history, but I will take it. We are here to talk a little cross country. Gordon, news trickling out yesterday that NAU and BYU are both set to compete next weekend at the Oklahoma State Invitational. What's your first reaction to the top two teams in the country, or at least from last year, duking out in this weird season, which we didn't even think we would have these two teams competing?
Yeah, it's exciting, right? We didn't know we would get something like this, but now we know we will. It's kind of interesting. I mean, we've had a few teams or conferences now saying like, oh yeah, you can go run a race or two, because it is kind of weird seeing a lot of these cross country schools sit on the sidelines while we have all these meets. Like we just had a meet 2 days ago in Cary, North Carolina. You know, NC State versus North Carolina versus Virginia, I believe. So it's nice that these other teams that we thought were gonna have to just sit this one out are now allowed to go play cross country. You know, that's what we get to see. We get to see some teams play cross country. Now, this meet that we're going to see on October 17th, I believe, is Saturday. I'm wondering what the field's going to be, because right now I know that Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and UTEP are all going to be there. But that's it, right? Now we're adding BYU and NAU, which makes this meet like the de facto who would have won, right? I mean, what can we take away from a result during a regular season where they're really not having a season, but they kind of are? Like, what are we going to be able to take away from this matchup between BYU and NAU, you think?
Well, that's a good question. I want to throw in there, I do think, and because they've run a race, this being Oklahoma State and on their home course, I don't think we should completely discount the possibility that Oklahoma State could win this meet, having a fully, a strong Isai Rodriguez up front, having a Ryan Smeaton. I think it's a better team than many are giving credit for. I don't know. It's hard to tell exactly who NAU is going to have. They mentioned Abdelhamid Nur. They mentioned Drew Bosley. We don't know. We're taking for granted the thought that, okay, are they going to have, are they going to have Nico Young? Are they going to have Luis Grijalva? Are they going to have all these guys? I think if there's any time to redshirt people, it could be this year. I know it doesn't. I say redshirt. I know this doesn't count against eligibility. So if there's any time to not race people, it might be right now as you prepare for a potential March cross country championship. So we'll see when the fields come out and in the entries, if this is going to be something on par with a encore to the NCAA championships. I assume we'll get good fields if both these teams are coming, but we don't know that for sure. I just think it's going to be a 3-team battle, not a 2-team battle.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're going to get any B teams out there. Like, I don't think BYU and NAU are going to fly to Stillwater just to go run a B team in the middle of a pandemic. Like, they're going to do it because they really feel they need they're doing it really for the kids in a way, because I'm sure these coaches are struggling to figure out what's the motivation for all these Pac-12 schools, these Big Sky, these West Coast Conference schools. You're like, what can we do to get them to like stay focused? I mean, you're telling them they're going to have a championship in March. It's October, like that's the equivalent of it being what? what's October to March? That's what, 6 months,
5 months.
right? 5 months. So that's like telling I'm trying to do quick math. That's like June. It's like June right now for these cross country
Yeah.
teams, right? So it's like literally some people are probably like not normally this is a time when they wouldn't even be running, right? So it's kind of hard for based on the schedule of when to peak, right? So I think
I
that we're
think,
going to get the best that we can from these two teams. So I don't know. You
yeah.
you like to think you like putting Oklahoma State in the mix, but I really think it's not even going to be a question. It's going to
Well,
be a
okay.
dual meet in my mind.
Yeah. Well, just dating back to what you were saying about it's weird at this time relative to the championships to be competing. I mean, I think coaches, for one, are going to kind of treat it like a late track season. So you would have some athletes competing in June and they can get re-geared up for a later season. And then two, nothing really is guaranteed given this pandemic. It could get worse, and therefore that could postpone or cancel the cross country championships in March. So I think any opportunity to compete, you have to take it, knowing the uncertainty. When I talk about Oklahoma State, yes, I realize that they didn't compete against a team anywhere close to a BYU or an NAU when they had the Cowboy Jamboree last weekend. But or maybe it was 2 weekends ago. It was last weekend. I mean, they put, well, let's see here, 5 guys in the top 7 against a pretty good Iowa State team. I just think on this home course, which is way different than anything that we are used to seeing, like a Terre Haute or Wisconsin, I think it's going to be a factor. I really do. And you also have NAU and BYU coming in cold. Sure, they've been practicing and running. Connor Mance in August ran a really nice 10K. I don't know. I just think it's going to be a nice litmus test for this Oklahoma State team to see how good they are. Dave Smith, obviously quite biased, but said this is one of his better teams he's ever had. Well, I tend to believe a guy I don't think he's full of it just because this is his team this year. I tend to believe him, and we'll get a really good idea of what this team is made of when they face the top 2 teams from last year. I do want to ask you, and I can guess what you're going to say, but who would you pick here, assuming all these teams are at full strength, and NAU is going to have Nico Young, and BYU is going to have Connor Mance? Like, who do you think is going to come out on top in this 8K race?
NAU. I think I think they have too much firepower. I mean, by BYU, they have like those people coming off of injuries and red shirts or Mormon missions. I mean, Connor showed that he's in shape by running that 10K a few months ago. So not that I thought Connor was not going to. Connor's going to finish top 3 in this race no matter what. But the Casey Klingers and the Clayton Shumways, you don't know what you're going to get from them. Yes, they're going to be solid, but you know what you're going to get from like a Louis Grijalva or Abdi Hamid Nur or a Drew Bosley, because they've been consistent since they've been at NAU. So I think that NAU just has a lot more knowns than BYU. And I think because they have more knowns, that's why they would win. And, this Oklahoma State thing, I mean, look, if you look at the results, though, I mean, yes, they put their 5 in the top 7, but their number 2 guy got beat by 30 seconds. So,
and maybe that was
they could easily have
on purpose
have their number.
Situation.
Well, I'm saying they could easily have all of NAU and BYU finish ahead of Isai Rodriguez, like based on the way that race.
Let's give Rodriguez a little credibility because he did finish 4th 2 years ago at NCAA Cross. I know he's dealt with injuries since then, but like I think this guy can turn it on, and we don't. Maybe there was a chance he was just trying to work with his teammates and let the Iowa State kid go. I mean, we don't know. If it was just Isai, if it was just a random Oklahoma State guy that got second, I would be like maybe, but this is a guy who is when at his best is one of the best cross country runners in the nation. So I think he deserves a little bit more sway than maybe we would give someone otherwise. I do want to, let's talk about, because we're really diving deep into this. We don't have a ton else to talk about. Kevin and I already recapped the old world record day. So not ton else. going on? What's up?
Have you taken out a second job to pay me
No,
my
I
ransom
gotta
for the
send you
bet you
your
lost?
26. I gotta send you your $26.17. May come from my wife's Venmo. Just FYI. Uh, let's try to lay out the top 5 finishers for this meet because it's interesting, right? There's obviously a bunch of huge names that could run in this. We also potentially have the collegiate debut of Nico Young. We have Casey Klinger's first race in a BYU jersey since like what 2017. There's a lot to unpack here, and I know if in normal circumstances this would just be a regular midseason meet and we wouldn't really worry about it. But given the fact that the championship course and these two teams haven't faced off since they battled at NCAA's last year, and given the COVID situation, this is just going to take on a lot more weight. So let's try to unpack the top 5 individual finishers from this meet. Let's try to predict, because I think it's a tough job. Can we both agree that Connor Mance is probably the favorite to finish first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, though, Luis Grijalva is going to have a reason to go for it. I mean, this guy has a lot of pepped up energy after, his disappointing cross-country championship. And then he was on fire all indoor, and then just got taken away from him. He goes out and runs like a crazy sub-4 or 4 flat at 7,000 feet the day of NCAA championships. So I think he has a lot of pepped up energy that I think he's going to be the one that I think Luis Grijalva would win, but
oh wow,
I'm willing to give you Connor Mance, top returner, ran a good 10K. He's healthy. I'm willing to go Mance 1, Grijalva 2.
Okay, I could hear Grijalva on number 2. That's fine. He did run 7:43 and was on fire indoors. Third place. This is where I think things start to get interesting. I would be tempted to put Rodriguez here, but I could also listen to a Drew Bosley, an Abdi Hamid Nur, somebody, maybe even a Klinger. Who do you think would be is the third place finisher at this meet?
Yeah, I probably Abdi Hamid Nur, I would think. But Isai, you know what? Let's put Isai Rodriguez up there.
Okay.
I mean, he is going to be on his home course. He got his rust buster out of the way. We preseason ranked Isai Rodriguez 3rd in the nation. So, hey, let's
there you go.
Let's put him up in there. So yeah, I'll go Mance, then Grijalva, then Rodriguez. So all the number 1 sticks finish in the top 3. It's a good 4 to see. That's kind of how you want it to play out, right? You want all teams to still be in it after the first 3 spots. So
right.
I would like to say this Wesley Kiptoo kid, who is undefeated, beat Eastside Rodriguez by like 30 seconds. We preseason ranked him 6th. I just want to pat myself on the back a little bit.
Good job. Is
Iowa State going
to be good? Is Iowa State going to be at this meet?
I looked up their schedule again. Unfortunately, I don't think so. But here's the thing.
That would change things.
Here's the thing. A lot of these teams changed last minute. Like Iowa State wasn't supposed to be at Cowboy Jamboree, but then they showed up. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of meets going on this weekend of this meet. You have Alabama's hosting a meet. UAB's hosting a huge meet. And then you have a bunch of other, like Texas A&M has a meet. So that's where Texas is going to go. All the North Carolina and Virginia both have meets. So we're not going to be able to see a bunch of teams. It's really going to be a 3-team battle. 2-team in my mind, but 3 for the sake of it. 2.5. There you go. 2.5 teams. But yeah, I don't really.
I want to see if Kiptoo's for real. He looked to be for real last weekend at the Jamboree by winning by 30 seconds. But could we have back-to-back Iowa State national champions? That would be wild. But we'll have to wait on that. Just quickly, let's fill out the rest of our top 5. We've mentioned Mance. We've mentioned Grijalva, Rodriguez. 4 and 5. I got to think you're thinking Bosley and Nur in some order.
Yeah, I would say Bosley, Nur, and then I'll put Klinger 6th, maybe.
Yeah. What would you expect from Nico Young here if he does make his collegiate debut? It's a tough course.
I mean, I would assume he'd be in their top 5. I feel like they wouldn't bother shipping him across the country just to be their 7th man. You know, I think you'd finish top 5. And if you're top 5 on NAU, you're probably going to finish at least top 10 in this race, right? So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting what this kid becomes, because we know he was good in high school and he was running all on fire. And you just want to know, like, if they took Drew Bosley became a top 25 guy, and he was like a third of what Nico Young was in high school.
Yeah. Right? Literally, he was 20. He had a bad race, but he was 22nd at NXN his senior year, a race which Nico Young completely dominated in 2019. Obviously, that's apples to oranges. It doesn't always work like that, but Nico Young is a prospect I don't think we've seen in a number of years. Every year there's all-stars that come out, obviously, and they go to the big programs. But I think Young, having run that 13:48 or whatever he ran in the 5,000, having run that 7:59, I think he's a different caliber. And I think his best aspect of his game is cross country. It wouldn't surprise me, seeing what Drew Bosley did. It wouldn't surprise me if Nico Young is in their top 2. I think he's that good. I think he's on par, maybe even better than Nur and Bosley. Obviously, they had the advantage of a year in the program and having run a bunch of collegiate races, including NCAA championships. But Young is a different level than those guys, at least coming in from high school. And it would not surprise me if he's a huge factor right away.
I mean, I'm trying to look into this. Let's go back to 2012. 2012, the top American U.S. high school athlete was Futsum, who finished 31st for NAU.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun looking at these 2012 results. You got some great names in there. You got Tom Farrell. Mohamed finished 8th. Got Paul Chalimo finished 10th. Jared Ward finished 14th. Shadrach DeChurcher finished 18th. Chris O'Hare 20th. Man, Scott Fauble 26th. Who would have thought that all these people in this top 20? It's like crazy to see, like, David Rooney beat Paul Chalimo in 2012 in cross country, and then 4 years later, Paul Chalimo is this Olympic silver medalist in the 5K. It's just like crazy to look at college results. All right, so
life comes at you fast, I'm
trying to look at top freshmen. So in 2012, top freshman was, Anthony Roches was good, but for the sake of argument, let's just look at
well, what about US 2013? Didn't Ben Sorrell? 2013, Ben Sorrell was top 10.
Yeah, so 2013, I'm looking at the results. Chesrek won.
Well, okay.
Chesrek was 1. Ben Sorrell was 8th. Yeah.
Okay.
Ben Sorrell was 8th. Pat Tiernan, which we won't count again, was 9th, but he was a freshman. So, Ben Sorrell, Chesrek, we call a unicorn in this situation, because I don't think we think Nico Young is Chesrek yet.
He's a different case.
So if Ben Sorrell was 8th, so that's maybe, is Nico Young a Ben Sorrell? That could be.
He's a better Ben Sorrell. He's a Ben Sorrell extra with extra guac, I think. He's better than that. So I just will be fascinated to see if they run him here. I think he's not going to be up with Connor Mance, I don't think. If he is, that's probably a mistake, and he's ignored the advice of Mike Smith. But he's very aggressive racer. He's going to be amped to run his first college race after having to wait, a few months after getting on campus. All these guys are going to be excited because the racing opportunities are just so few and far between. I really, really hope we get to see him here and see what he's made of in a very tough collegiate debut on a hard course. I can tell you this course is it's different than when I ran on it, because the wood chips have been eliminated. The cattle guards or whatever you had to hop over are gone, and they've widened this course, but it is a hilly monster, and it challenges you from start to finish. So this is going to be fun. I know we were texting last night a little bit. joking about maybe making the drive over to Stillwater. I don't know if they're allowing media, but this is going to be one to view. I don't know if they have a live stream for this or anything. This is I don't know. We got to get something figured out here.
Yeah, they're not going to have a live stream. Let's be honest. The only people who are going to live cross country is going to be us.
But
we're not.
Oh, is that who does it? Okay.
Yeah, we're the only ones who know how to do it.
Okay.
Grant Fisher was 17th, and then the next year he came top. I think maybe Nico Young is going to be. He finishes 20th freshman year, and then sophomore year he's a perennial top 5, top 10 guy. That's what I think he's going to become. But let's talk about covering this meet. We live 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
We road tripping? Is your wife going to allow? Is Kevin's wife going to allow us to road trip?
Yeah, that's a good question. We got to figure out. Probably the answer to that is no. But
why not?
The new baby has 2 children at home. It's just watching. Maybe I could drive up in the middle of the night and then come back the same day. Just like 12 hours of driving in one day. Just get like 12 interviews and then flip it right around. I don't know. I feel like we'd want to record the race though for the fans out there. Get on the front.
So no, this is what we'll do. What time does your children go to bed? Your children go to bed what, at 8?
8. Yeah.
Yeah. So 8 o'clock, I come to your house, knock on the door, pick you up. We drive 6 hours, so we get there by 2 a.m. Right? Take a quick nap in the car. Race starts at 9 a.m. Race starts at 9 a.m., so we can get a good 5 hours, 6 hours. Or maybe we go to a Motel 6 or 8, whatever. Get some 6 hours of rest. Record the races at 9. Record the races at 9. Get some interviews. Film people doing the warm-ups and get some great coverage. Then we're back on the road by 2, and then we're home by 8. So
no fatigue. No fatigue,
you would just be gone. You would just be gone from your children's lives from like
for 24 hours
for the workday. It's like coming home late for work. That's all it is.
Well, we'll see. That's a good case. I feel like that's a good case. We shall see. We got to see if media is going to be allowed. Are we going to have to stay 6 feet away? I would. The athletes are going to get tested, so that's plus. But I don't know if
it's going to be in a field.
Test.
It's going to be in a field, bro. They're not going to have like COVID security guards and high. It's not going to be like the NBA bubble. It's a cross country course. People are going to be able to walk around.
COVID security guards. Is that a thing? Is that a job? COVID security guards?
I'm sure it is some places.
Yeah.
But I really think you need to consider this 8 p.m. drive. We could vlog it. We could turn it into a great opportunity. Think about all the coffee you'll be allowed to drink on the trip. You love coffee.
I do love coffee. I've already had 2 cups this morning. I'm feeling pretty good. So you're tempting me here. Yeah, we've got to strongly consider this. How much weight will you give whoever wins this? Is this like if NAU wins this, are you like, okay, they've atoned for their loss last year, or is this just another meet?
That's the thing. I don't know, right? Because if they do lose, you're definitely going to be like, oh, they were only going to be good for. I feel like the most pressure is on NAU, right? Because if they do lose, it's going to be like really like annoying because then they have to wait even longer for them to redeem themselves.
Right.
I mean, you can't put any weight on it, right? Because it's a random October meet, but us mentally with the itch for cross-country content and just wanting to see competition between great athletes, we're going to want to put a lot of weight on it, even though we shouldn't, but we will just as fans. And I will, in my rankings, I'll put a lot of weight on it. I updated the COVID era rankings.
Oh, wow. I need to check this out. And this will have this is going to take a sledgehammer to your COVID rankings, I guess. Oh, yeah. Well, it should at least. But then again, if you're not counting previous performance, oh, yeah, Wesley Kiptoo, baby, number 1.
So Oklahoma State is now ranked 3rd because they ran a team. So this now includes the Cowboy Jamboree results. So the team rankings goes Notre Dame, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Syracuse. So,
wow, a Missouri athlete, top of the women's rankings. I've never heard of her.
Sarah Chapman. She just destroyed all the Arkansas women. So you're gonna
bada boom.
That helps you out. Notre Dame right now is looking good in these rankings because they've only run once, and they ran in a chill Notre Dame dual meet. But once we see Notre Dame run one more time, I think we'll be able to kind of spread out their top 7 guys. But
they were supposed to run at Louisville, and then they didn't. I'm not sure what happened there.
Apparently, one of the teammates was considered a contract traced with someone else who got COVID. So
Classic.
Out of precaution, they didn't.
Well, Notre Dame's president was messing around at the infected White House, so it's not like they had a great example to start with. What else? What else do we have to talk about? You got any other track things to talk about? Do we just keep diving into this? I don't know how many ways we can dissect this BYU NAU meet. I'm just excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I thought you would dunk more on my rankings, but I feel like you've been dunking on the rankings since I've been making rankings since 2014.
It's a classic. It is a tradition unlike any other. Me just dunking on your rankings. They're going to change big time after this weekend, right? Or after next weekend, I should say.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, because we'll have more teams racing again. It'll be interesting. There was some news, some pro news that hit the wire. The Tokyo Marathon has been moved to October. So normally this as
in a year from now?
Yeah. So normally it's in February or March or early March, I think is when it normally is. So the 2021 marathon is now going to be in the fall, which means 5 of the 6 major marathons next year will all be in the fall. You have Berlin on September 26th. Then you have London on October 3rd. Then you have Chicago on October 10th, Tokyo October 17th, and New York November 7th.
Well, I can't think that I can't help but think that Tokyo will get the short end of the stick there with the top name athletes. I mean, I think they're used to being kind of the least of the majors. Kipchoge doesn't go there. Bekele, those types of athletes don't run there. And the women's race usually not as high profile either. Now they're really going to feel that effect. Yeah, I mean, this was what was promised, not Tokyo, but this was kind of what was promised this fall when everything got pushed back with COVID. Obviously, a year later, we assume or we hope, a vaccine will be out and situations will be different. At worst, race directors will see what happened with London and be like, well, we can at least do that to have an elite race. But it's funny because this is what we had all these fall races lined up, and then Chicago, Boston, New York, all got canceled. So hopefully we don't have that situation. But man, the countdown's on now, a year out from Tokyo, the Tokyo Marathon. Obviously, I assume there was some Olympic considerations there as well, them having to navigate that around. When are we going to have this marathon in relation to the Olympic Games? Because I know the organizers aren't going to be the same people, but you want to make sure that race is not conflicting with the build up to the Olympics.
Yeah, and so right now only Boston is not going to be in the fall. Boston's still scheduled for April, the 3rd Monday of April, but Boston still has a chance to change their mind. They haven't, made any announcement either way. They're, quote, studying the situation. They're studying the situation. I mean, the Houston half marathon and full marathon, which normally is in January, that was canceled to go virtual. So, but here's the thing, the only reason it's being canceled is because they're all community events, right? They have these big expos and they have all these people running, sure, right? In reality, though, if it's an elite field, it is super doable to do. You can find a closed course the way London did it and only have 20 women and 20 men and just make sure, hey,
I just think
chill in the hotel for a week and then we're good,
Yeah, is it financially worth it though to do it? I mean, is it how much money are you losing by just doing that? Maybe London is in a better position than other marathons to, you're making your money off the mass fields, and is it worth it just to have those? I guess the answer is yes for Well, no, we don't know that. I mean, the answer
No,
was
I
yes
bet
for
London
London, but
lost
we
money.
don't know that. I assume all these races are going to be thinking we're going to have mass fields back, but there's no obvious time when we're in this period until at least in the U.S. we're in this period until a vaccine comes out, and we just don't know. We've been told, oh, it's coming soon, and we just don't know when exactly that's going to be. And so these events happening again, even a year on, are still dependent on that, in my opinion.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about the other day, I was talking to a coach. How a lot of these coaches are like, what's this deal with March cross country on the same weekend as indoor championships? What are you going to do? A lot of coaches would be like, I think Joe Franklin was quoted by Runner's World saying, likely someone like Kaladi would probably run the 5K on Friday and then run on Monday the 6K cross country championships, right? Makes sense,
Insane.
I guess. Good old double.
Yeah.
But a lot of the one thing I'm thinking about is obviously the elephant in the room is that there's a good chance indoors would get canceled and then cross country
Right.
won it, right? Because cross country's outdoors. But I was thinking about this. I don't think there ever is going to be a moment when they cancel indoors. I think it's going to be like self-canceled in a weird way because I don't think there's going to be meets for these schools to go to get times in. It's going to be a really weird, like someone has got to raise their hand in like February and be like, hey guys, we can't run anywhere. Right? Because I don't think, because in the NCAA's mind, they don't really worry about the regular season. It's just like, are we having that championship on that March weekend, right? We just need to worry about that date, right? But they're not really thinking about like indoors in NCAA's mind is March, but indoors in all these college coaches' minds is mid-January. That's when it is, and it's like a 2-month process. So, do you think we're gonna have like 2 to 3 weeks of like coaches struggling to find races to get their kids to run in?
No, I don't think anyone's going to struggle because I think it's going to be coming completely obvious from the beginning, at the outset, or even in December, that there's not going to be any meets available. No one's going to want to host a meet that's going to become a super spreader event unless you're going to test everybody the day before. And even then, I mean, I don't see that happening. No, I think indoor is going to be canceled, or not, maybe not canceled, but just like you said, there's going to be a lack of meets, and maybe it's not ever formally canceled, the championships, up until a month before, a couple weeks before. But once it becomes clear that nobody's going to have qualifying marks, or at least there's only going to be a few people that are going to have qualifying marks, it's not going to happen. And we talked to Dave Smith. He didn't think indoor was going to happen. Obviously, he has incentive to say that because he wants his meet to go on March 15th and doesn't want indoors to affect that at all. But I tend to agree with that. We know that indoors is much, much dicier than outdoors when it comes to coronavirus. So I just don't think we're going to have anything in January because nothing's going to change as far as the pandemic. So who's going to want to host a meet? Who's going to have all the resources in place? Indoors is about quantity. Meets happen when there are 1,000 entries. Are we just going to really, really scale it back and say only a certain caliber of athlete can compete indoors? We're not going to have you Joe Schmoes compete because you add to the number and increase the possibility of infection. I don't know how that works. I guess that's possible, but then again, you still have to have, tests. You still have to social distance. You can only have a certain amount of people in there. I just think it's a lot of rules and that track maybe doesn't have the infrastructure to handle at different meets all across the country.
Yeah, I just think that, like, let's look at this. In 2014, there was a Arkansas versus Texas dual meet, right? And it was hosted by Arkansas. Let's bring up the results. We'll just look at the men's results and then double it for women. But there was 12 people in this. There was 12 people in the 60, 8 people in the 200, 5 people in the 400, 5 people in the 800, 4 in the 1K, 5 in a mile, 4 in a 3K, 10 in the 60 hurdles, right? Like there was no more than there was less than 10 people in every event. In most events, it was 5 to 7 when you even throw in
That's
throws
still a
and
lot of
jumps,
people.
right?
I mean, that's still going to add up. Yeah, that's fine, but that's still going to add up to hundreds of people. Maybe not
Yeah, but
hundreds,
here's the
but
thing.
possibly a hundred
It's
people. Are they
it's
going to
two
stay
teams
outside while
though.
other events are happening? Yeah, but that's
It's
still a lot of people.
but these two teams have been practicing together, right? Like it's not like you have a group of Arkansas athletes that all have been like testing themselves every week or so and only hanging out with each other. And you have Texas people who are testing themselves and only hanging out with each other. And then it's just so true. It's not like you're having a bunch of like parents and children and other individuals from all over the country. It's just like two two clusters, or not two groups coming together, right, into a facility that you know that was already people were only the Arkansas track team people were allowed in there. So I just feel like it's possible to do like dual meets.
It's
That's
possible.
basically
I
what I'm
just
trying to
don't.
get at.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
If
I
you can have
suppose
if you can
if
have a basketball game, you'll be able to
yeah,
have a
that's what I was
dual
gonna
meet.
say. It seems possible. The incentive to have basketball over indoor track and field is significantly different. Um, I am less optimistic. However, in the state of Florida, they just approved full. Basically, the state of Florida can return to normal. I think that's
Let's
idiotic,
go.
but if they wanted
Nah.
to, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, full stadium of fans. That seems, like I said, idiotic. But I suppose if other states follow that and coaches are just like, whatever, I want to have indoor track, I don't care about the concerns. I mean, we could just see a country that just returns to normal, health be damned, safety be damned. So maybe it wouldn't surprise me. There's been stranger things that have gone against the logic as far as health concerns go. But if you are trying to follow safety to its full extent, uh, I just don't even know if at a dual meet is possible unless you have the testing infrastructure in place. Maybe you do, but I don't know. Indoors is going to look a lot different in my, at best, and at worst, I don't know if it's going to even happen.
I mean, I did see a report within like the first month of colleges meeting and having whatever, there were 70,000 COVID cases, and only 3 of them were hospitalized. Which
yeah,
is
and again,
a,
the court. It's not that. I mean, as we know, the thing is the health of other
grandma.
affected groups. Yeah, of grandma, of vulnerable.
Well, what if you tell the kids, hey, how many of these
So
college kids are in their dorm with their grandma? I mean, if you had
they're
grandma in
not,
your
but if they're
dorm,
going to the local coffee
Lincoln, when you're
shop.
in, what do you think that would be like having grandma be your college roommate as a sophomore in college? That'd be wild. Grandma would be great at parties, but that's what I'm. Well, don't go to the coffee shop, right? It's just like,
well, yeah, you can't count on college kids to do that. Yeah, we'll see. I think it depends less on. It might depend less on like I was saying, the infrastructure in place. It may just depend on more of our attitude towards this. If we become this deferential to it as a country, that it's like, well, nobody's actually getting sick, then maybe we compete. Because I mean, I don't know. There's a chance, not in the pro sports, but in college sports, there's got to be a chance that some athletes are competing that have coronavirus or are still infectious and are asymptomatic. Unless every meet is testing to the extent, it's not like high school kids are getting tested to the extent that professionals are. No, there's going to be gaps in the testing, and you start to wonder, is that going to extend to the NCAA level where they're just going to be like, whatever, you can compete, and that's concerning to me. But if it seems like a lot of people are just, let's just get life back to normal and not worry about this, and I could see that maybe trickling into NCAA sports.
hey, if I can see an Arkansas Texas dual meet on a Friday twilight in February, it's worth it. Who'd you take in that Arkansas Texas dual meet, man? Who'd you take?
I mean,
what's the over under?
That's good. Yeah, that's exciting to think about in October. You gotta go with Texas. I think this new Texas team. Although I was gonna say, this is off topic. Kiernan Tuntavate was supposed to be on Texas's roster, and then I don't see him on their roster anymore. The Harvard transfer. Do you have any indication what happened there?
I can text the coach.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I just
think
missed him.
I'll text the coach and we'll find out.
It's not a source.
Kiernan.
Let me just make sure. Hold on. Roster. This is great podcast material. Yeah, he's not on the roster anymore.
All right. Well, I was saying, I think there's another meet coming up. Track meet. I thought whatchamacallit was. Excuse me. I thought the world record meet was the finale. All right. He won't be on. Kiernan won't be on the roster till next semester. He doesn't need to go to school right now. He only has outdoor, so he's going to enroll he enrolls in the spring. Boom.
Got it.
So I know you're reading a rumor on the internet. It's not true. All right. So there's a meet on October 10th, which is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get some fast 5Ks and 10Ks. You ready for this?
Yeah.
In Hengelo.
Read me the names.
The Hengelo meeting. Hold on.
Oh, Hengelo. Yeah. Who we got?
Meeting. All right. I got it's hard to get these. All right. Here we go. It's I got Euro meeting. Trying to find the result.
This is awesome. This is incredible.
This is intriguing content.
High quality listening experience.
Well, there's what's like that European athletics? They have like all the meets. Wow. It's really hard to find meet result. Okay, events and meetings. Hold up, we got this. Keep listening if you're listening. Just keep listening. We're gonna get this.
Yeah. Do it.
So it's tomorrow. Hengelo. What country is Hengelo in? Netherlands?
Yeah, I think so. Yep, Netherlands. It's a city in the eastern part of the Netherlands in the province of Overijssel. Elevation 59 feet, low elevation.
Okay, so here we go. Safan Hassan, Faith Kipyegon, Yomif Kajelcha, Tashay Gamuchu. So we're getting 3 events. It's a 1K, a 10K, 1K and a 10K for the women, and a 5K for the men. So
is Hassan in the 10? What's she in?
Hassan's in the 10. Kipyegon's in the 1K, and Kajelcha and Stuart McSwain are in the 5K. Boom. We got something to talk about. It's tomorrow. What do you think we're going to see Hassan do in this 10K? I'm guessing she'll be going for a world record in the 10, maybe? I don't know. I mean,
I don't think she's going to run 29:17. I would need it to have a little bit more build up, a little bit more PR if she was going to truthfully go for that. I think eventually she's capable of that, but maybe we see if she can break 30 minutes. Only 8 women let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 7 women in history have broken 30 minutes. So that would be significant for her to do that. We know she's the reigning 10,000 meter world champion. So she's only run 2 10Ks in her entire life. So still kind of getting used to the distance, but you figure somebody who can run a 4 flat last 1,500 meters can go pretty fast. Did you say who else is in that field? Is O'Beary in that field?
In a 10K field? I don't know who. I mean, don't have like entries. I'm just looking at like a press release.
Oh, okay. Good.
But Kipyegon has said she's going for the world record in the 1K.
She's tried. This will be her third try. She really wants this 1K record for some reason.
I know. Everyone needs that 1K record, man.
It's huge.
It's all about the 1K. And then Kajelcha and McSween are in the 5K.
I look
Kajelcha's
forward
kind
to that.
of fallen off a bit. Is Kajelcha ever going to be the Kajelcha of like
I
20?
don't know if he's
When was he
fallen
like?
off. He was on fire in 2019 indoors. He did get silver in the 10,000 and was, kicking with Cheptegei in the last 100. He got beat, but I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
worry about Kajelka. He's not Joshua Cheptegei. Nobody else is, but he's still very, very good. And obviously, when you're coached by Alberto Salazar and then he gets banned and he's got to find a new. I think he's being coached by Tim Roberry now. Things have changed a little bit for him and Stefan Hassan, and I think you've seen them be affected by that. So I would expect him to bounce back and eventually, he may never be on the heater he was in 2019 when he ran 347 indoors, but Kajelka is still Kajelka. He's very strong.
I'm wondering why these. So yeah, I mean, Kajelcha probably over under 13 flat. Do you think he's out there to just go run like a 13:05, or is he out there try to run a fast 12:50 type?
It just depends on who else is in there. McSwain's in very good shape. McSwain's run 330, 728, and something else. So that'll be a good test for Kajelka. Now, it's mid-October now, and I don't know what relevance this meet really has, but it'd be good to see those two former NOP athletes there in Kajelka and Hassan compete. But yeah, McSwain will be a great test for Kajelka.
Yeah, so it should be a good meet. It's only 3 races, but seeing Hassan go for a fast 10K will be exciting because, like you said, she's only run it twice. Seeing Kipyegon go for the 1K one more time, maybe she's figured out the right pace she needs to do for that mid 200 meters between 600 and 800 to be perfect for that 1K. And then Kajelcha McSwain in the 5K should be good.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
She is. She's trying to run that 2:28.98. She ran 2:29.15 in Monaco, and then she ran 2:29.92 in Brussels. Really wants that mark. I don't know if she wagered a big number that, hey, I'm going to have this by the end of the year, no problem. And then she's like, crap, it's October. I got to find a 1K. So we shall see. That'll be a fun one to kind of wrap up the season, even though it seemed like the season kind of wrapped up with the NN World Record Day. But thank goodness we have some cross country to replace the void of track coming up for us soon. So it's exciting. Some things to look forward to on the track and field calendar. That's we don't take that for granted anymore. All right. So that'll do it for us. He's Gordon Mack. I'm Lincoln Shrike. Email us at flotrackpodcast@gmail.com. We'll check in on those hopefully next week. Until then, we will see you on Monday.